Hi, my name's Zoe and today I want to talk to you about 5 disturbing movies that are based on real life serial killers. So, anyone a fan of real life serial killers? Maybe fans, the not quite the right word. No, not a fan. But I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love watching and listening to podcasts about real life serial killers. There's something so disturbing about the fact that, they can casually get up, get dressed, head off to work, kidnap someone, murder them, and then hack them up in the bathroom. And that is, of course, why I love movies that are based on real life serial killers. And today I am going to take you through 5 of the most disturbing of those movies, which also happen to be some of my favourites. So the first one we have on our list is Snowtown, also known as the Snowtown Murders. This film is from 2011 and it was directed by Justin KURZEL. It's all about murders which were called bodies in barrel murders. These were committed by John Bunting, Robert Wagner and James Falasakis. They had 11 victims in the 1990s, which is quite a lot. So the film follows John and Jamie. They're the 2 main characters. They're also kind of the 2 main people involved in the murders in real life. So in the film Snowtown, we see Jamie. He lives with his mum and his brothers in, I guess, what could be considered as quite a rundown area in Australia. I think it's South Australia. It's quite rough. And they don't have much to do, and John comes along and he seems to be quite an influential figure on Jamie and his brothers to start with, at least. But unfortunately John is obsessed with, he doesn't really like what he considers paedophiles, but a lot of them unfortunately were just homosexual men. They weren't paedophiles at all. I think what I really like about the movie so much is the tone of it. It's very oppressive, it's very hard to sit through. It's not particularly exploitative like other films that are similar to this, but I don't think it needs to be. I think if it was exploitative, it would just be absolutely horrendous to watch. I know quite a few people have said to me like they find it really difficult to watch Snowtown. I've actually seen it on a few occasions now just because I think it's such a powerful and well-made film, but I can absolutely see how it probably, there's a bathtub scene which it's not easy to watch through. That is certainly true. So yeah, that is Snowtown. Next up on the list, we have another Australian film that is Hounds of Love. This one's from 2016 and it's directed by Ben Young. So this is loosely based on the murders that were committed by David and Catherine Burney. They murdered 4 women in the 1980s. Very horrific crimes that they committed. So the movie follows Evelyn and John, who are I guess they're the murderers in this case, and we see as they kidnap and do horrific things to a young girl called Vicky. I think with Hounds of Love, again, it's quite similar to Snowtown in the fact that you don't see as much as other serial killer based films, and again I really don't think that you need to. I think the power of the film lies in the fact that your imagination kind of builds around a lot of it. For instance, there's one particular scene where they simply close the door and you actually just hear what's happening behind the closed door, but you don't see anything, and then they reopen the door a little bit later and you see certain things lying on the floor, and from the aftermath alone you know exactly what happened, and it's pretty nasty. Again, I would say, if you want some kind of like really horrific double bill, you could watch this with Snowtown, but you might ruin your day or your entire week, to be honest. So only do that if you're like hardcore kind of fucked up and yeah, you want to ruin your even your life, So that is Hounds of Love. Next movie on the list, in at number 3, is The Golden Glove. This is from 2019 and it's directed by Faith Akin. So it is based on the real serial killer called Fritz Honka. He murdered 4 women in the 1970s in Germany. So in the film we follow Fritz. It pretty much depicts everything that happened and the murders that happen. I would say the film probably starts off in its most kind of violent, graphic and gory detail. There's a very, very explicit scene it's probably about 5 minutes into this one, I'm not gonna lie. Happens very, very quickly. And then I think after that it actually calms down in its tone. I don't think everyone would agree with me in that sense, but I do think it kind of gets a little bit tamer as you go through. But that's not to say that this is a tame film at all, because it is not a tame film at all. I think the biggest thing that, you know, people say about this film is that you can smell it, which obviously you can't actually smell it, but just from the scenes alone they have done such an incredible job at recreating those set pieces that you kind of can smell the apartment that he lives in. And I think one of the most horrific things, and true to Fritz Honka's case as well, is that he actually stored a lot of the not the full kind of bodies, but body parts in his apartment, which was a teeny tiny little dinky flat, you know, and he just popped them. It was in like this musty little cupboard at the back. And so when you begin to understand that, and also, you know, he's a raging alcoholic and it's just, yeah, filth. He lives in filth. And I think once you kind of think about that and you see it brought to life on screen, that is why you can be like, oh, I can smell this film, and it is vile, absolutely vile. But it's a great film, and Jonas Dassler, who plays Fritz Honka, his transformation is ridiculous. Like, if you Google him versus what he looks like in the movie, you can barely even tell that it's him. So that is The Golden Glove. The next movie on our list, in at number 4, is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. This one is from 1985 and is directed by John McNaughton, loosely based on real-life serial killers Henry Lee Lucas and his companion Otis Elwood Toole. They say that Henry Lee Lucas murdered 11 women between the 60s and the 80s in the US. However, Otis was only convicted of 6 murders. So this film is depicting Henry and Otis, who, again, like I said, very loosely based, but in this film they are serial killers. It's more about Henry than it is Otis. Otis is purely kind of his accomplice and almost kind of gets pulled into it, but he's clearly very willing to do it. I think the biggest kind of takeaway from Henry's Portrait of a Serial Killer for me was that, again, it's so grimy and realistic. A lot of the film is portrayed in a found footage way, and a lot of it we kind of see it from Henry's point of view, and we'll see it through the camera, which brings a sense of realism, and it makes it much harder to watch the scenes. This one's been considered as one of those, you know, most disturbing movies ever made, and I've got to say that I do agree. I think just seeing murders from the perspective of the killer gives everything a very different vibe. I think it does make it a lot harder to watch a film when you're kind of looking from their point of view. But Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, a fantastic film if you can sit through it. So the final film on our list, in at number 5, is Torment from 2017, directed by Adam Ford. So this is, again, loosely based on the murderer John Wayne Gacy, who's also known as the Killer Clown, who murdered at least 33 young men. And I believe that he had about 26 of those bodies stored in his house, which is, you know, if I said like the Golden Glove one must have smelt in his flat, Imagine the stench from 26 bodies. Gross. John Wayne Gacy was also known as Pogo the Clown, and I think I read somewhere that he didn't actually kill people whilst wearing his clown outfit, which thank God, because I fucking hate clowns, and I remember hearing about that years ago when I was like a teen, and it scared the shit out of me. So the film Torment is... it's very exploitative, let's put it that way. I think a lot of people probably have a lot of problems with a film like Torment, which is fine, but I think at the same time, you know, film is art, we're allowed our artistic expressions, and that's exactly what happens in Torment. So it kind of goes down the rabbit hole and looks at just the torture side of John Wayne Gacy's crimes, and also the homosexual relationships. I call them relationships, they obviously weren't, because most of them were rape and sexual assault, so that's not really a relationship between him and the men. It's pretty damn graphic, and yeah, I did feel a little bit like it kind of was capitalising on John Wayne Gacy's murders, and perhaps, you know, making it really graphic and disturbing, because that is a great way to kind of sell the film. But hey, you know, I love disturbing shit, so do you. So check it out, that's Torment. So those are 5 really disturbing movies that are based on real life serial killers. You can find all the details about the serial killers, you can find that online. There's some amazing podcasts out there. I highly recommend Case File. I also recommend Serial Killers on Spotify if you want to listen a bit more about some of those serial killers. But do check out the films, but just be warned that they are quite extreme. But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any recommendations of videos you'd love to see, do drop them down in the comments, drop me an email, hit me up on social media. Also make sure that you give a thumbs up if you like it, also a thumbs down if you didn't like this video, which, as I always say, fair enough, because I also think they're shit, but I keep doing them. Also do subscribe if you want to be the first to know when I've got new videos, and I will be doing them a little bit more regularly. And yeah, thanks so much for watching.